Everyone, welcome back to today's video. For today we're going to be making this super adorable thank you card featuring our beautiful autumn stamp set. I love this one, and I really wanted to do something that was still kind of like fall-esque but wasn't a like your traditional fall card. I actually got my inspiration from this from our catalog. So this stamp set is in the new mini catalog that's live right now, and there is a card that's a smaller card, and I believe they use like maybe Bermuda Bay. I can't 100% remember, but that's really where I got the inspiration from this one, and I think it's gorgeous, and I think it gives that fall vibe, like I was saying, without having like a card screaming at you that says, hey look, I'm fall. So I really like this one, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So let's jump into how to actually make it. So the first thing that we're going to do is let's focus on our focal point for today, which is that square that has all of the embossing on it. So the first thing that you are going to want to do is grab your Versamark ink, and we're going to use this little stamp here. I'll zoom in just a bit so you guys can see. We're going to use this little stamp here, and this is the outline of like the maple leaf kind of stamp in the stamp set, and I'm going to just stamp this all over this piece of Flirty Flamingo cardstock. As always, the specific sizes of paper and everything that I'm using are in the Core Knitting blog post, which is the first link in the description box below. As well as all of the specific products that I use, so you can recreate this at home. And one tip for you while you're creating something like this, if you're going to do embossing on the entire piece of paper, I like to do half and then heat set it and then do the other half, and that just gives you a nice place to hold on to so that your fingers don't get all nice and toasty while you are heat setting. So that's just a little tip for you guys. So that's about half I've stamped with my little leaf. I would then take my white embossing powder, and I forgot to grab a scratch piece of paper. 1 second. So I'm going to take my scratch piece of paper. This is just a plain piece of copy paper. Fold it in half. Take my piece here of cardstock and put my embossing powder all over it. Tap, tap, tap. You want to make sure you tap it, and then I also tap from the back. Just to make sure there aren't any stragglers. If there are, an old paintbrush or something like that works really well. And then I would heat set this and then do the same thing on the other side. In the interest of saving time, I have actually already created one. So I'm going to take this and set that off to the side. So I have already made one where I did that exact same thing that I just showed you guys. I stamped about half of it, heat embossed, and then I stamped the other half and heat embossed. And now it is all ready and good to go. So let's continue on with our stamping. The next thing that I want to do is where our little sentiment's going to go. So this is just a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and I'm going to be using Bumblebee. I love this ink. I think it is a fantastic yellow. It's kind of like a mustardy color. I just really like it. I think it's perfect for fall and fall themed projects. So I'm going to stamp this, my little thank you greeting, right in the center, just like that. I'm going to scooch that off to the side, and then I also have just a scrap here of Whisper White, and I am going to be stamping my little leaves. So these little leaves here that we have as an accent on the side, we're going to stamp those right now. So you have two stamps, and actually I meant to mention with this stamp as well, you have the same concept. So you have the outline, and then you have an image that fills in the full stamp. So you can see it here. This one is the inner part, so it's a full stamp, and it'll stamp the entire thing. And this is just the outlines. So I'm going to start with the outline stamp, and I'm going to stamp this in my Bumblebee. And I'm going to actually do this 3 times because I want 3 little leaves. Ooh, that one didn't stamp very well. My fault. There. And then I'm going to take the other one, which is the full image, and I'm going to grab, actually, you know what, I'm just going to do it on this piece of cardstock. So I'm going to ink this up again, and I'm actually going to stamp off first, and then I'm going to stamp down onto my outline. And that just gives it a nice little fill so that it looks like a nice pretty leaf. And for this color, it's a little hard to see when you first do it, like the actual effect of putting this background stamp in. But I can promise you, once you cut it out, it looks really, really, really nice. So we're all done with our bumblebee. So I'm going to set that off to the side. I am now going to bring in this little punch. So this Beautiful Autumn stamp set actually has a bundle. It comes in a bundle, I should say, and it comes with 3 of these little mini punches. So you have punches that'll punch out this like maple leaf, the one that we used on our background already. You have this one for this acorn, and then this other little leaf that we're going to be using today. Okay, sorry, there was some weird noise downstairs and I went to go investigate to see what it was. So like I was saying, we're going to take this leaf here and we're just going to use the punch, and we're going to punch out our little leaves, just like so. Perfect. So I'm also going to take these little leaves and I'm going to set them off to the side, because there is one other thing that we need to do before we can assemble this card. And that is, we're just going to cut out this little piece of vellum right here. It's totally optional. I really like it because it's just a nice extra it's like a little soft accent that I think looks really, really nice with this card. Zoom out just a smidge. I am also going to be using our new magnetic plate. So if you are not familiar with the magnetic plates, we had an old one with the old, when we had the Big Shot as our machine, we had a magnetic cutting plate also. I never got the one for the Big Shot just because I just didn't want it really. But I felt like I wanted it with this machine, so I got it. So the way that you are actually going to create your sandwich when you use your magnetic plate, so you're going to use number 1, number 2, this is number 5, you can see there. So you'll put number 5 down, you'll put your project down here, whatever you're trying to cut, and then you'll use a number 3 plate on top. So it actually helps make your number 3 plates go a little bit further, because you're only using one, whereas if you're doing, if you're not using the magnetic cutting plate, you use both of them every single time. So it actually helps make your plates go a little bit longer. So the purpose of the magnetic plate is it's basically a magnet. So when I put my metal die on it, like this, I can turn it and my die doesn't move. This plate is awesome because it's actually a full magnet on the back. So I know some of the older plates or other brands of plates just had like magnets kind of scattered throughout it, and so your die would shift a little bit. This one is a full magnet, and so this stays perfectly exactly where I want it. Not really needed or 100% necessary for this kind of die cutting, because I don't have any kind of image. I'm literally just cutting out a circle, so it doesn't really matter. I'm not super concerned about positioning. But if you were doing something like you had stamped a sentiment and then you wanted to cut that sentiment out perfectly, this comes in fantastic handy is what I was just gonna say. This comes in handy, and it's absolutely fantastic is what I really meant, to help keep your dies positioned exactly where you want them. So anyway, that's a magnetic plate. I will show you guys like a really good example of when you truly need it and kind of what I'm talking about. But for today's project, I'm just going to use it because it's my new main cutting plate that I'm going to be using. So just cut out that circle. This circle is from the Stitch Shapes dies. It is the second largest. And like I said, I just cut that out with some vellum. So now we have everything and we are ready to put this card together. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my card base. This is thick Whisper White, and I have another piece of regular Whisper White, and I am doing this card as like the first layer is the exact same size as my card base. I mentioned this before, when I do cards like that, I really like to still have a first layer because I want to make sure that my card is nice and sturdy, and I don't personally like putting elements and things directly onto my card base. So I'm going to be putting this piece on first. I'm also going to be using Stampin' Seal Plus today, mainly because when I go to adhere my embossed piece, sometimes embossing pieces, especially if you do a lot of embossing like this, can tend to warp a little bit just because you're heating it up, and it can have that tendency to happen. So I'm going to be using Stampin' Seal Plus today, and because I'm using it in one aspect of the card, I'm just going to use it for everything because that's just how I roll. With my card base, when I am doing this where I have my first layer is the same size as my card base, I like to score first just so that I can really get a good picture and a good view as to where I want my first layer to go. So I'm going to stick that down right there, just like that. Super stinking easy. And now we can continue to put this together. So I'm going to take my Flirty Flamingo piece, the piece that we embossed, and I am going to take a bunch of dimensionals. I'm going to go dimensional crazy. You guys know how I am. If you've been here before, you know I get a little crazy with my dimensionals sometimes. But I love dimensions, and if I'm going to use dimensionals, I want to make sure that it stays looking really nice. So now I'm going to take all of the backings off of these, which is going to be really not very fun because I cut my nails super short this week. So it's going to be a little difficult, but we will get there. I'm just going to put these little guys into a pile over here and I will deal with them later. Perfect. And so now I'm going to find whichever way I think looks the best. I think I like it going this way. And so I'm going to stick that down right there, just like that. Then I'm going to come in next with my little piece of vellum. Oh, see, look, do you always have these the backings to dimensionals stuck to you? I find these, like, I'll be in bed and I'm like, what is that on my foot? And I'll find it, or it'll be in like a sock in random places. It happens all the time. It's crazy. Anyway, I'm going to take my piece of vellum here, and I'm going to, again, take my Stampin' Seal Plus, and I am just going to do one strip directly in the middle on the back of this. One thing, and I say this from personal experience, one thing that I know really deters people from using vellum is that you can see adhesive through it. So you can definitely see my adhesive when I stick this. You can see that strip where I just put it, right? When you do something like what I'm about to show you, there are ways that you can hide the adhesive, and so just don't shy away from vellum is really what I'm trying to say. It's really, really easy to work with, and it adds a nice kind of elegant touch to some simple projects, or even a non-simple project. It adds that really nice touch, and so I think people shy away from it because they're not 100% sure how to work with it. You can hide the adhesive really easily, I promise. So I'm going to stick that down right there in the center. And then I'm going to take my sentiment, and again with my Stampin' Seal Plus, just do a line there. And then I'm going to stick this down right in the center, and this is going to cover up that adhesive that I was just saying I was concerned about. So super stinking easy, just like that. And then my last little touch, I'm going to grab my leaves. I'm also going to grab some glue dots, and I'll zoom in here so you guys can really see what I'm doing. I forgot I also need my snips, and I couldn't find them. So I have 3 leaves here, and I'm going to take one of the leaves, and I'm going to cut it in about half. Just like that. I'm going to take the bottom half, and I'm going to throw it to the side because I don't need it. I'm going to take the top half of this one, and I'm going to put a glue dot on it. I really like using glue dots for things like this. I think it's easy to use glue dots, and so that's what I'm using. And I'm going to stick that right there on the corner. Now the reason that I cut it in half is because I'm going to layer these other 2 leaves on top of it, and you're not really going to see the bottom half, and sometimes it kind of sticks out weird, and I found it's easier to just cut the bottom half off, and then you don't have to worry about it. So then I'm going to just layer these little leaves right on top. So I think I'm going to put one right there. And then I'm going to put the other one like so. And it just adds a nice little touch to your project. And that is it for today, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's project. As always, you can find all of the products that I talked about 24/7 just by going to littlemooncreation.stampinup.net. You can shop there and get everything that you need. I also list, like I was mentioning, I have everything listed, and the products that I use, paper sizes, all of that good stuff in the coordinating blog post, which is always the first link in the description box below, or you can just course, go to littlемooncreation.com and you can see all kinds of fun stuff there and see all of the things that I have shared over the years. So I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!